Hey everyone, and welcome back again. And hopefully what we're going to be able to do here today is to be informative, stimulating, and maybe I'll get a couple of chuckles along the way. Okay. Quite often I get people will email me or they'll make a comment in the comment section of the videos as a suggestion. And one question that's come up, and I think I've had this come up about 2 or 3 times in the last little while, and I always kind of grimace, if that's the appropriate word, when I see this question. Did we come here to experience the pain and difficulty we do in the twin flame experience? How about that one? One of the things that I notice in my travels around some of the twin flame groups and in many of the other YouTubers doing information on twin flames is people are continually talking about the pain and the difficulty that they're going through, and they come up with such an explanation or an understanding of why they're having it that way. And the answer to the question is no. No one came here with the express purpose of going through a whole pile of difficulty and pain through the twin flame experience. The reason that people feel the pain and the difficulty is right now at this particular point, there are a lot of belief systems that people have attached to relationships, and those belief systems have been deeply ingrained over a very extended period of time. And each time that someone has had a relationship of any kind in the past, especially if it's been a failure, if we can use that word, what they've done is they have reinforced their previous belief systems. And what they do is they create a whole pile of expectations and agendas for the next upcoming relationship, if and when that happens. Plus, somewhere along the line, they have incorporated behavior expectation agendas that they've incorporated in from the examples of relationships that were presented to them as a child, but more specifically as a teenager. And I like to mention this quite often. During the time that an individual goes through puberty is when I have found in dealing with a lot of clients that I work with is where the point of origin of most of your behaviors, beliefs, and attachments that you will acquire, defend, and perceive and live your life and your bodily health by are those that you pick up during the time of puberty. Now, why is puberty so important in this particular situation? Again, this is going to be a little bit repetitive, but I really hope people can understand this time around and give them some insight as to, no, this is not what they came to experience. I'm going to tell you why you're experiencing it, giving you some understanding of why you're experiencing the pain and the difficulty, and then you can do something about it. So when you're going through puberty is when you, in that, I'm going to call it, other people call it the subconscious, I'm going to call it the little boy, the little girl within you. That's when you and that little boy or the little girl are like this, all right? You're so close together. And when you were a teenager, the one thing that you can remember about being a teenager is having a pimple on your chin was, and still is, to this day, a world-shaking crisis in your life. Now that's a pimple. Can you imagine if you have some kind of dramatic relationship exposure or experience that could be abusive, could be mentally or emotionally challenging, or you have parental influences that don't have a stable relationship, and all of this is incorporated into you as you are a teenager, and this constitutes a whole trunkload of belief systems, behavior modules that you are going to live and die by for the rest of your life. Most of you. Also, to compound the problem, what happens is the endocrine system, which secretes hormones into the body, goes into all sorts of different stages, malfunctions, misalignments, imbalances, whatever term you want to use within the body, so that by the time a great many of you have reached adulthood and the body has matured, well, take a look at what's happened to the mental body, but most importantly, take a look at what's happened to the emotional body. The emotional body has now become somewhat, shall we say, dysfunctional. And most of those dysfunctionals can be incorporated in varying degrees. This is why everybody's so different, because everybody's circumstances of birth, childhood, and teenage years are different. This is what makes everybody so unique. When we come in, we're relatively all similar. No one came in being guilty. No one came into this life with belief systems. No one came in with misaligned endocrine systems and hormonal imbalances. All of this was achieved through the input of energy, input of belief systems, input of ideologies, input of religious indoctrination, political indoctrination, cultural indoctrination, and it all has effect. So what happens is, to give you a bigger picture here, is this constitutes what establishes us as a species on the planet in one basic premise. The one thing that puts together our whole society in every part of the world is one basic premise or concept: relationships. No relationships, no shopping malls, no technology, nothing. It all functions around relationship. Doesn't matter how you cut it. It all functions around relationship. And as most of you are already aware, the same as I am, our society is in jeopardy in a great many cases. We are doing a lot of things correctly, but we're doing more things incorrectly. And a planetary view will give you a picture of that. However, most of us, as a general rule, really don't give a fiddler's fart about the condition of the world. All we really care about is ourselves and what's going on with us. And that's not being selfish. That's just being you. The being you is a containment field of all of those belief systems and structures that I previously talked about. So what happens is, in order for things to change, what has to happen? Something or someone somewhere has to say, okay, we need to help these people. What are we going to correct almost all of the problems on the planet over a relatively, shall we say, sane period of time? What's the one basic thing that we can work at? What's the one basic thing that we can do that can assist them in every area of their lives? And someone in the back yelled and stuck up their hand and said, relationships. Change their concept of relationships, and you change the world. Oh, well, now, so how do we do that? Well, what we do is we put together an explosive, intense experience. It's a combination of energy, a combination of an alignment of two of those people on the planet, or three or four of them, or five of them, or a group of them, or whatever. And what we start doing is we start mixing the energies up. And by mixing them up, what we do is we stimulate the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the soul body, and all the other little bodies that are in there into a state of change. Now, I fully realize that a lot of people on the planet, and a lot of people who are watching this video, when it comes to having these connections, all right, when you have that intensity with someone, what you're going to do is the very first thing, and this happens all the time, I see it all the time for the majority of people, not all of them anymore, but a good number of you, when you have that intense connection with someone and you feel that wonderful expression of love and that burst of energy and your heart center open, and the Kundalini energy begins to move, and all of this stuff takes place instantaneously as you're going along. And really, when it comes right down to it, what do you want? You really just want a relationship with that person, and that's all you care about. That's all you really care about. And when it doesn't happen the way you want, according to your expectations and agendas, you get upset. Your emotional body goes into a pain situation. You're miserable. You're unhappy. You are just totally a wreck. Literally, because it's just not happening the way you thought it was going to happen, the way you wanted it to go happen, and the way, I want to emphasize here, so many others out there are telling you, according to the teapot, or according to the tarot card, that it should go. For instance, an example, we're now coming into a cycle of the moon phase where Uranus is now open and you can breathe air through your anus and you can get wind of the twin flame connection coming into being. You follow me on that one? Okay. So there's a barrage of information about the twin flame connection, as it's so called, of a whole pile of people who are giving information that know exactly nothing about it in the majority of cases from any personal experience. And if they do have any personal experience, they probably didn't take it to successful completion and have a union with themselves, first of all, let alone with another person. So the pain, the frustration, and the anger continue. So the idea here is understanding is what's necessary in regards to this particular situation. When you're going through, and this is not going to sit well with some of you, when you're going through a lot of pain and you're going through a lot of difficulty with the connection with someone else, it is because you're resisting the process. There's no other way around it. Somewhere within you, there is a belief system, a behavior module, an expectation, or an agenda that is not being fulfilled according to your terms of want, need, and expect. So therefore, you're having a hissy fit. And the hissy fit is caused by your emotional girl being the little boy or the little girl who has done something. And what they have done is they have fallen back. Remember the bubble of phase you were in? Well, many of you have heard me talk about the emotional experience of love, relationship, and sexuality. I'm going to keep going at this. If I'm here for another 20 years, I'm still going to repeat it because repetition seems to be the key. A lot of you listen to what I say, but you don't hear what I'm saying. You only hear what you want to hear in the videos that I present. The stuff that you don't want to hear and listen to, you avoid or they trigger you. And when they trigger you, that's when you don't come back anymore because I pissed you off. So then you have to defend yourself and say, well, I don't want to go and see Mel's videos because he's arrogant, he's cocky, and he's downright rude. He criticizes, he judges. When I hear somebody talk like that, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a 15-year-old immature puppy who doesn't understand or know the first thing about a high vibrational connection. And I take that into consideration. However, I'm not going to pat them on the head and say, it's okay, you're going to be all right, everything's going to come, be beautiful and wonderful, and you're going to get together with your twin flame down the road. I'm not going to tell you that. What I'm going to tell you is the hard truth. And when it comes to the pain and difficulty, let me use this phrase. Whether you believe it or not, according to your belief systems, expectations, and agendas, the pain you are feeling, here comes, is self-inflicted. You're doing it to yourself. The other person is not doing it to you. You are doing it to you. And the reason you are doing it to you is because you rigidly cannot, will not, refuse, don't understand, haven't grasped the concept, or just are too naive, and naive being uninformed, that's what I mean, as to what's going on, or you don't want to pay attention. And this is why you experience it. It has nothing to do with the statement, did you come into this particular life to experience all of this pain and difficulty through the twin flame experience? And the answer is, as I said in the beginning, no, you did not. The reason I said it's becoming difficult is why I just mentioned all of these little innuendos and complementary things that went along with each other. The idea here, and I'm going to present this because I'm going to do a video on it, is I figured out some time ago, all by myself, that some of you have heard of the ascension process, all right? Well, ingeniously, the evolutionary process from somewhere, whomever, whatever, has stuck in to the twin flame experience, the ascension process. Because if you'll go and make a comparison, if any of you have got any smarts going for you, and you go and take a look at the ascension process and Google it, go ahead, Google it, and take a look at the ascension process with all of the stages and whatever else you go through at a personal level. And if you compare them with all of the pain and the agony and the awakenings and the difficulty and the challenges and everything else that you're going through in the twin flame process, it's the same thing. Okay? In actual fact, the twin flame experience is now being used as an ascension process. Why? Because it's much more efficient, it's a lot faster, and sooner or later, one thing I know about people who are in emotional pain and challenges, sooner or later, I've learned this about people. People are not going to change in any way, shape, or form until they're backed into a corner and someone is hitting them stoutly on the head with a stick before they get the message. Too many people are babying and coddling and smoothing and trying to preach to people and telling them all kinds of gaga goo goo wonderful things to make them stay asleep and not wake up. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and you can see it all the time. There are so many twin flames up there, so-called twin flames, and that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to keep you asleep, uninformed, and only have you wake up to a certain point that you're controllable. Because once you're not controllable, then you can't be part of their flock or their group. You move on and you've grown and you evolve. So again, the ascension process is hidden within the twin flame experience of itself. And I can assure you, the twin flame experience is a benefit, it's a positive, it's creative, and everyone, sooner or later on the planet, is going to go through it in that particular situation. So if you are experiencing it in the pain and the difficulty and the challenging stages, just remember what I've said. It's self-inflicted. You're doing it to yourself. It's not your twin flame that's doing it to you. It's you that's doing it to you because you have incorporated belief systems, ideologies, philosophies, behavior module within that state of consciousness that you have that is self-limiting to you. It is preventing you from growing and evolving in consciousness so that you can become a mature spiritual being and express it in that way, shape, and form. How does that grab you? I hope it grabbed you and got your attention. And if you need some assistance, you all know where to find me. You all know what to expect when you get here. So if you're looking for roses and me handing you a box of candy, not going to happen. But if you're looking for some straight up facts, some straight up truth, and some straight up guidance from someone who's been experienced and gone through this, because I can tell you, I did the same thing that most of you did in the beginning. Stomped my little feet, having my temper tantrums, and went through my power struggles, and it's it. He said, she said, it's her fault, not my fault, type of thing. And I went through all kinds of emotional pain, and I did like everybody else does. It had to get as difficult that I was in the corner, somebody hitting me on the head with a stick before I got the message. But guess what? I got a message for you. Sooner or later, we're all going to get the message. We're all going to change. We're all going to grow, whether we like it or not. Doesn't matter how unique we are or think we are, or how we think we're each going to find our own pathway. That is also a piece of bullshit. Unless we actually start working with each other and help each other on the pathway, we're not going to be any further ahead. And one of the things that I've learned from my higher self, which has told me that, Mel, information and knowledge is no good unless it is shared. And if it is shared and it is correct and it is right, it will resonate with people. Anything less than that is bullshit. You see? So there you go. What more can I say? Have a wonderful day. Love you all.